Welcome to the Deconstructing Data podcast and broadcast. I'm Jessie Lezak, CMO at BDEX, along with David Finkelstein, founder and CEO of BDEX. David, two
Hey,
big
Jesse.
things. How's it going? I was going to ask you about two big things before I ask you how you are. Well,
Okay.
one, it's been 1 year since what happened in Sanibel.
Yeah. Thank you for remembering. We this morning at sunrise we had a remembrance ceremony by the lighthouse in Sanibel. 1 year ago today, we were devastated by Hurricane Ian, and there's still a lot of people still trying to pick up the pieces, still trying to rebuild their homes, still trying to get their businesses back. So it's unbelievable that a year has passed. A lot has happened, but there's still a lot more that needs to happen to get the island back to normal.
Definitely. And I said two things. So the other thing I was going to mention was you were featured this week and it's pinned at the top of the BDEX company page on LinkedIn. Could you just tell viewers what inspired that letter?
Wow, what inspired it? Okay, so the letter turned into an article, I guess, that was launched on AdExchanger, published by AdExchanger, called "Stop Worrying About the Quantity of Impressions; It's Quality That Counts." And really, to be honest with you, I originally wrote it out of frustration, just seeing so many in the industry talking about scale and quantity of impressions and ads and then seeing companies like MediaMath file for bankruptcy and other companies that we know of that are struggling to maintain ad revenue, maintain performance of advertising, of ad campaigns rather. And I wrote this what originally started as an open letter to the industry, based on those frustrations. And AdExchanger, we went back and forth and talked about it, and they had some good feedback, and we ended up publishing the article. And it's really about trying to open people's eyes to how not just that quality matters, right, but how to measure quality, because I think that's kind of been the biggest challenge, is that companies are saying, well, if I can get enough scale, I can eventually get to some goal that the advertiser is trying to reach. But that has been a struggle. And I think that with all of the changes that have gone on in the ad tech industry lately, limitation in tracking and things like Apple's ATT and Google's Do Not Track, Google cookie deprecation, all these things are making it harder for advertisers today. And so it's becoming more and more important for platforms to figure out how to measure quality and guarantee quality in ad campaigns to improve ad performance. And so that's what really inspired it. And I think it was pretty well received. And it was glad to see a number of people comment about it that supported the fact that it is a challenge, but it's a worthy challenge, and it's sort of required these days. And if you're not up for the challenge, then unfortunately there will be more companies that will go the way of MediaMath and turn towards bankruptcy if they can't solve the problem.
Well, it's a really important message. So I'm glad that AdExchanger published it. And, I'm seeing a lot of people share it and comment on it on LinkedIn. It's going far and wide on different LinkedIn groups. I kind of switched up the script there. So I didn't mean to stumble over you, but I just thought it was important that we, one, recognize it's been 1 year since Sanibel hurricane. What was the name of that hurricane?
Hurricane Ian.
Hurricane Ian. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
And then also, what's going on with the quality of data out there. But we have a really interesting guest. So let's hop into that. And per usual, we're very lucky to welcome on another special person. Today we have Michael Cohen, CD and AO of Plus Company. He comes from a background of AI and R&D for marketing management and business growth. I'm going to go ahead and bring him here into the show. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have you, Michael. Appreciate you joining the show. We're going to jump in and let you start with giving our listeners a little bit of background about you and what led you to Plus Company, and a little bit about your solution and how you're helping advertisers. Would be really great for our listeners to hear.
Yeah, I think your setup at the beginning of the show is a good segue to me and my introduction. The reason being that, from a very early point in time, I was always interested in measuring the impact of marketing. So, the marketing manager could figure out whether an impression or whatever the investment was, the communication touch points that they were delivering to their customers in the market, whether they're economic or not. And if you have something like that, then the marketplace, the ad marketplace, has a mechanism to correct poor quality, because poor quality ads aren't going to trade at a price that's makes sense to have those things as a business. So the idea that understanding your investment and the influence of consumer journeys is stands right at the middle of this, and stands at the middle of how we improve things on the ad product side, as well as on for marketing managers and the sort of technology that they want to rely upon to make their businesses perform and grow. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that, because going back decades now, because it seemed really hard. There wasn't a lot of data on it, but there was more and more data coming around. Computation was starting to become better and better. And the ability to use complex mathematics and statistics and machine learning and AI and all these sort of constructs that we talk about now was becoming real. And it was an opportunity to put those sort of technologies in the hands of marketers, such that they could have a seat at the table, the C-suite table, that made them part of the financial conversation in a way that you could responsibly report on what the investments in marketing were doing, and how to value the investments in marketing relative to other areas of the corporation. So that's like my lifelong mission. I started that in academia. I was a full-time faculty member. Went to graduate school and then got a full-time faculty position. I was at NYU Stern School of Business as a marketing professor and developing these methods, and thought that if I was really to have impact, I have to start building these products out in the marketplace. So that set me on a journey building, scalable software products in the marketing impact measurement space for optimization, planning, and activation. And I did that in a couple different places, in early stage startups and larger ad tech company, and a later stage scale up startup. And, I learned a lot about the human element that stands in the way of being successful and data driven. So that really, was a big motivator for me to join Plus Company, which is a global network of full service, full funnel creative agencies, and what's happening in that world, which is, if there's a place that AI is going to disrupt, I think it's the agency world, because AI means that you can create higher quality, more valuable creative and measure it, and building a business model around that is going to be critical to the future of what it means to be an agency, which is a different mindset and a different business model than many agencies exist under today. So that's what really motivated me to take a leadership role at Plus Company in an entrepreneurial network under the leadership of a great global CEO, Brett Marchand, who really puts his money where his mouth is when it comes to data and tech enablement. So a product guy like me coming into an agency was a bit of a intimidating environment with my crazy ideas about agile product development and agile product business. But But nevertheless, here I am, and I'm seeing how I can make an impact in such a place through enabling our customers with data teams that help them move up their maturity curve and meet use cases in the marketing organization as it relates to all the different data assets that they have available, and have products for marketing impact measurement, optimization, um, and measurement. So that's the
Very
story
cool.
in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's a great story, and it's interesting. You talk about sort of your life's mission of wanting to do these complicated things with data and marketing. I'm kind of living in a similar journey, and so I'm curious. We can sort of, Jesse just put up the first topic, so we'll dive into it. You're providing data teams essentially to advertisers to help improve their processes. Talk to us about what you're seeing, with respect to AI and sort of the usage of AI by advertisers and agencies, today, and where you see that going.
Uh-oh, did we lose him? He warned us we might.
I'm here.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Froze for a second. All right.
I got all of it. So what we've learned, I'd say, over the last 2 decades about having data that's available for the sort of use cases that are most valuable to us as marketing managers, it has evolved quite a bit with the use of prediction and the use of AI, because it's not just about data retrieval anymore. You actually need your data to be ready and in a form that an AI can use and process it for the sorts of value that intelligence and decision intelligence effectively is what AI means to a marketing manager produces. So all the investments that we made to optimize how we arrange data for data retrieval systems don't work well for getting the most out of prediction and artificial intelligence. So people have had to really rethink that. And this idea of data-centric AI, Andrew Ng, and he generally describes this as optimizing how you have your data available and arranged for AI use cases. In the realm of marketing, the most intuitive path to follow there is the customer. That's the object that the marketer wants to influence. And if you build underlying data infrastructure that sees your data through the lens of the customer and the journey and the way that they make it through the marketplace, you're fundamentally having different data schema and arranging data differently than if you say, oh, I want to have my media data this way and arrange it according to the different publishers that I have and the different campaigns that I have. And the AI wants to help you understand the customer and what to do to influence the customer. Those things are at odds with one another. So it means that as we evolve in the data-driven use cases we have as marketers, and if our data is arranged in those more traditional ways, it's not going to be optimal for the sort of AI use cases that we want to that we want AI to solve for, like understanding whether somebody saw an impression, or how do I understand that what my customer's communication journey looks like in a world where data lives behind walled gardens, or privacy compliance means that I don't have the full detail of that impression at a device or individual level. But AI can tell us that because there is lots of data, and it can process that data all at once and solve that complex problem. So the first step is having your data in a form that complex AI can consume it and utilize it for solving the sort of problems that we've already talked about here, like how do I know whether a particular audience was delivered an impression or not?
Yeah, it's true. And it's the fact that, we've said this before on the show, the fact that with data processing at the level where we are today, there are things that we can do today. And the reason why you're seeing the growth in AI is because we can do a lot more today with the processing that's available to us in the cloud than we could have done, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so you're seeing sort of that growth of creativity and ways that AI is being deployed to make decisions, to analyze data. And I think that, it'll be interesting, right, to see how that evolves even further in the next few years. Where do you see that evolving in your space, in the agency space in particular?
I alluded to this earlier, but for a creative agency, for example, the idea that that we can know something about the performance of the creative that we're putting together, the campaign we're putting together, as part of the creation of that campaign is a new idea, right? And if you can take, say a large language model or some sort of image generating model, and feed it, the sort of fabric of the customer journey and how those touch points influence that customer journey, it can use that information in developing a wide array of creative. Okay, so the first step is I can use AI to give me the data that I want about my customers and knowledge about how effective those communication touch points were across the population. Then I can, cue it with some prompts as well as like campaign briefs and ask it to generate creative and message. And then the next step is that I can actually go and experiment with that creative and message in an economic way. It's not just experimenting with new things for the sake of it. It's which things do I experiment against, which audiences, at which times, for, what is the KPI I care about? How long should I do that experimentation? Those are all computational questions to be answered. And when you put that all together, now you have an empowered creator that can, utilize information about what's going to work, create what's going to work, experiment with it. And then the final thing they can do is ask an AI to actually activate it and deploy it. So you've really made the whole production line there quite efficient. That's going to happen really quickly, that world. And that
Yeah.
means a lot for how we reorganize as creative agencies.
Yeah, in theory, what you're saying is we could have thousands of different creatives generated in real time for different users based on different parameters, that an AI has learned about that user, that might help trigger them. We just talk about like, you might create one creative that has a dog in it for a dog owner and another one for a cat owner. And I'm really simplifying this, but if you could be doing these things in real time, as you learn more information about a user based on their journey, you could be generating creative in real time that is very customized to that consumer.
Yeah, and it really starts to show you what the place is for humans in this relationship with AI. So it can do a lot of tasks. It can make you a better creator, and then the final interesting piece is the judgment that you bring to the AI. It can start to synthesize that and encode it into itself. So that's the way AI evolves. It takes human judgment and it encodes it and becomes better as a result. And then you'll make it to the next stage. And so those creators that understand that process are going to be the most successful at using and working with AI. And it's really a playing field leveler as well, which is exciting to me as well. Even somebody that spent a lot of time studying the mathematics of this stuff, that's not what matters anymore. It matters that you can actually prompt stuff in the right way and encode judgment with AI to actually make it to the next level of what's possible. As you say, as the price and the cost of computation and prediction falls, the possibilities increase.
So, judgment is so important in a lot of things, and it transitions us into the next topic, the combo of prediction and judgment. Can you kick us off on your thoughts with this, Michael?
Yeah, I want to start by just doing a little bit of a review of, what we've seen in the last couple of years, and what we have and what we think of as AI, say in the form of Chat GPT or GPT, generative pre-trained transformer. And this is the idea that we have some prediction machines that are just really good at predicting, and they need some supervision. So that's the transformer bit. Somebody figured out you can take one piece that's really good at predicting something, like a neural network, and you can take another piece that is a self-governing model over that, that is good at a specific thing, like predicting the next word in the sentence, or where a pixel is in an image, or where a touch point is in the consumer journey. And then you can generate things from data that you have, and get data that you want that you don't have. That's really what generative AI is about. So that's really the best example of how human judgment and notions about reinforcement learning and taking human cues, say when they started to train these GPT models, they had people review them and say, that answer makes sense, that one doesn't. And that sort of reinforcement can then be encoded in that transformer, the thing that's actually governing the prediction. And that's what powerful AI looks like today. It's a combination of smart supervision designed for a very specific domain with very powerful prediction to solve specific problems, and continuing to make it better by bringing human judgment and reinforcing that over time, is the basic idea there. And that's how we'll see AI evolve.
Yeah, I think that it's, we have to remember that AI gets smarter because of people, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just, it's not like in the movies, AI just doesn't teach itself and get smarter and smarter. It's people that are programming it, people that are training it, and telling it, feeding it data to train on. And so it really comes down to how you train it, right? And it comes down to that sort of judgment, right? What is accurate and what is not, what is right and what is wrong. And by teaching it that, we're then able to create an AI that will do certain things, right? Whether it be like a Chat GPT, which is a large language model, but you can take an AI and basically train it on anything else. I mean, we've done it, trained it on identity, consumer identity data. You can do it and train it on, something that's, more targeted around who and how and when to target ads, right? So there's AI or custom algorithms that are basically just trained on what is a good performing ad and what is a bad performing ad, and and certain signals that are relevant to that, like timing and placement and things like that. And you'll find companies out there that are doing that and training AI just on that. So it really comes down to that human element as well, that plays a big role in it.
Absolutely. Well, anything more on the combo of prediction and judgment you want to touch on before we transition into Gen AI?
No, I just want to emphasize the fact that there's like a diversity and inclusion issue here that I really believe that if we manage this stuff correctly, as a playing field leveler, that the user experience that we're building around this stuff makes it more accessible. And that matters because historically we've had to rely on the academic sort of practice that is sort of entrenched in a history of to become political here, patriarchal sort of ways and constructs, just from history that are no longer required. to access this sort of stuff. So that's exciting that we can really start to harness, the diverse potential of humanity in a better way as a result of the easier access that this stuff provides. Just want to mention that.
Well, I can appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah, good point.
And on that note, let's transition into Gen AI and crafting your desired data instantly. So people think of Gen AI typically right now, especially with content, but let's talk about it with data. Can you kick us off, Michael?
Yeah, and we just touched on this a little bit, that the Gen AI basically means that you have some information. It could be everything you can find on the internet, or books, or images, or customer data. That data can be in very detailed form, like the we would work with device cookies and customer identity sort of level data, or it can be at a much more aggregate level data, like I just know how many impressions were delivered in the New York DMA in a particular week, or at a zip code level over time. That data is very informative when we bring it together with knowledge about who is in that place and time, and then see what they do. And as we alluded to earlier, this is the case for the customer journey, the exposure, the response to it. It fundamentally has three legs to the stool. You have the customer. If you understand the population, it can be the entire population. You don't have to make a judgment about what's your target, but you want to have an understanding of who's out there in the market, and you need to know things about them. You don't need to know specific things. So it can be very privacy protecting, and you can have an understanding of, what sort of marketing or media touch points and the creative message that you've deployed in that inventory that is getting out there in the market and connecting with people, and then what those people do. And if you have that treatment and response and the individuals that's happening to, now you have the three legs of the stool to solve the generative puzzle, given the data that you have. So rather than say, I'm going to use the AI or the predictive technology that fits the data, you say, I'm going to write down my predictive technology or the underlying math for the thing that I want, and use the data that I have to give that back to me. I don't have to be confined to the data that I have, or getting the data to some common level that a particular modeling technique requires. I can really go after the model that I want, the most atomic level model, and say, let me use all the data that I have to get there, and then build, as I indicated earlier, a human judgment or supervisory framework around that prediction that can solve a wide array of generative problems in the space that we care about in marketing, which is the customer's communication journey and the influence of that, and how it evolves and what it might look like under different circumstances. Right? This isn't just about measurement and understanding impact. It's about asking what other strategies might yield, or other market situations might yield, and it'll generate that picture, whether we've seen that market or not. And that's the exciting bit.
Yeah, it's often, comes down to understanding what the goal is, right? And so once you know what the goal is, you can build a construct to get there.
Definitely. Well, we talk about, and we help people with data, right? And using machine learning to expand their audiences. Anything you want to talk about, David, with, using AI in terms of what we do with data?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, again, this is one of the things that kind of led me to write that letter that turned into an article with AdExchanger was, we've been dealing with a lot of problems in the digital media space for quite a while. Ad fraud has always been a problem. It's not gotten better. It's only gotten worse. And you put on top of that sort of all the limitations in tracking and privacy concerns, and Google's cookie deprecation, Apple's ATT. It's like all these things are sort of trying to limit the advertiser's ability to target ads. And so our goal in building the technology that we built was around saying, okay, well, how can we take all of these problems and fundamentally build a model that essentially identifies when these problems exist and remove the data that is derived from those problems, right? So it's about identifying IDs that are related to ad fraud, that are related to bots and click farms, identifying temporary IDs that are generated from Do Not Track or Apple's ATT, and all of these things that are basically driving down ad performance. We've built our AI around identifying those sort of what we would call invalid IDs and removing them, and using that as a methodology for improving ad targeting. Because by removing them, we're ultimately improving the ability to target to real people, and that alone has generated significant increases in return on ad spend for advertisers. And so it's a completely different sort of model or way of using machine learning to essentially identify what we call bad data or invalid IDs.
Yes, definitely. And a topic that we could go on and on about, but I want to make sure that we hear about your favorite tools in your tech stack, Michael. What are, some of your favorite go-tos in your day-to-day that you use?
Before I comment on that, I'd love to comment on what was just talked
Yes,
about,
please.
which the stuff, David, you talked about is super important for performance activation and the ad tech ecosystem. When we think about measuring these things, the ability to understand and identify the sort of problems that you're talking about, I want to remind marketers and marketing analysts that having that bad data in your analysis or fraudulent is important, because it tells you what the actual value is of a particular ad vehicle or something like that. I remember when I built a multi-touch attribution product and people wanted to put only viewable impressions in there, and I said that's crazy, because then you're going to overestimate the impact of those impressions. That's not what you're buying. You actually put in there what you're buying. So if you're buying bad stuff, you want that in your model so you can identify that it's bad. And then when you get to the step of actually activating that, then you want to use this sort of technology that you're describing to ensure that you're delivering a better ad product to advertisers. And that's important, because I've seen people make this mistake of wanting to clean all the bad data out, but that you're paying for those bad impressions, and so you want to know what the impact is. Anyway, just an aside.
No, that's a great point. Our CTO always says bad data is good data. It gives you information, you learn from it, and you have to use that bad data to improve on your operations and your processes.
Yeah. So tech stack wise, I'm not going to point out any specific things so much. I mean, there's a lot of exciting products that we see coming out, and I guess I'll address it in that way. The typical cloud service providers are introducing products to make it easier for developers to use things like large language models and develop their own proprietary versions of those for the sort of businesses that they want to pursue. So I think they're all going to do great things, and we're going to see very rapid succession of things and an understanding about what it is that matters. If you ask me what's going to matter a lot in the next 12 months, there's two big things. One is governance of models. I think the large language and generative AI world is really keyed in on something from like a product strategy perspective about there's like a base model that you train and it has 10 billion parameters, and you can partner with somebody and, you know, allow them to add their own unique information and unique judgment to expand those models to perform for, you know, their unique area of application. And the ability to have sort of asynchronous and always on governance of models, I think is going to be really big. And we'll see a number of products come out over the next couple of years that are going to help the tech stack and people that are trying to build tech stacks govern these sort of models. So that's one thing I think to look out for. And then the other thing that's even more exciting is changing the actual user interface and user experience to be a more conversational one. Alluded to that being a, you know, field leveling sort of thing. Today, when we go to dashboards are kind of alienating. They look cool to marketing analysts and maybe media people, but there's a whole group of people that are part of the marketing organization that it's not a natural way to interact with data, and conversational UIs are going to allow for that. And there's going to be a bunch of technologies that are going to make it really easy to build applications that are conversational and have a linked understanding of how the things you're asking for come together, whether they're images or tables or things you want it to do. That user experience will become very coherent and much more intuitive to people who don't necessarily come towards dashboards easily. So I'm very much in the camp of, you know, the dashboard is dead, or, you know, the notion of the dashboard will evolve to be one where, you know, you can tell and refine your story on the fly, and the user experience will be one of curation around that.
Interesting. I love a good dashboard.
Dashboard lovers can still create their dashboards, right? You can still ask for those things, but you're not confined to pivots and drop downs and things that some people, you know, don't love so much.
Yeah, you might find yourself asking the application to build you a dashboard that contains X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, definitely. Like maybe one day we could just ask the BDEX, data exchange a question like, hey, can you tell me what's the audience of people who watch whatever show on TV?
Yeah.
What's audience makeup? Just dreaming. But in conclusion, we have some post-topic questions we like to ask our guests, Michael. And, we'd really like you to go back in a time, you know, when you first got into the marketing industry. So I guess, I don't know, would that be before academia or after academia? You know, we'll let you decide. But what is the number one piece of advice you would give yourself?
My younger self. So, it's interesting. If I go back to, say, high school, I was interested in marketing. I was very interested in markets and the economics of the globe. And then I was interested in math and computers, but I didn't know that there'd be such a thing as like marketing science and, marketing technologies that relied on mathematical constructs at that time. I just knew I wanted to do all of those things. So that's what I did. I figured if I always followed my intuition about what could be valuable and what seemed kind of hard and powerful, that, it would lead me to something good. And then, so that's one part. And then the other part is that, getting comfortable with failure, and you probably hear this from a lot of people, is a recipe for success. You can have an ego, but, fail a lot. You'll learn a lot, and you'll fail your way up. Do it in a smart way, but become comfortable with failure, big and small, and help others understand that too, because empathy and compassion and all these sort of things help you on that journey of failure. I have kids, as a parent of kids that are stepping into a new era in AI, I think very carefully about, what the world will look like for them. But some things are always true, like, the world's going to be tough, and be prepared for it. It'll be okay. Um, those basic lessons.
Yeah, no, it's good advice, and it's it's something I talk to my daughter about all the time. She's a fourth year in college, and I'm always telling her, don't be afraid to fail. Like, just dive in, take a chance. If it doesn't work, you'll learn from it, move on, and do it better. It's fear of failure is usually what holds people back from doing great things. So,
Don't be scared to do hard things. Like,
oh yeah,
there
those
aren't
exact
hard
words. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always paid a big dividend. That I haven't felt bad or regretted things that are, intellectually difficult or physically difficult. They've always rewarded in the end.
For sure. Doing those hard things makes everything else seem easier, right? I mean, you climb Mount Everest, everything else is going to seem easy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
Definitely.
another big piece of advice. That's great, and everybody should hear that for sure.
Great point. Yeah, I always try to do the hardest thing I have the beginning of the day, so then everything else seems easier. But going off of all of that, are there any lessons you've learned along the way from the past jobs or, maybe back in academia or your current role that you think everyone should know? Oh, did he freeze?
Either
Think.
that or he's really thinking.
I think I'm here. I am really thinking it's a hard question because you want to answer it in terms of the details, right? My journey is one where I've collected all these experiences about what not to do. That's what I tell people when I come and build a new tech platform.
Mhm.
I'd probably say the biggest value that I have is, when people come up with ideas, I can tell them about how that was tried and what happens when you do it. So it's this collection of, again, failure that is very specific to the domain that I've focused in, marketing measurement and impact measurement and machine learning and computation, all those things. But
No, I think he froze again.
sorry.
That's okay.
He's back.
So was there one lesson you wanted to share?
Yeah, just remember what matters.
Remember what matters. That's a good one.
You can't lead you in the wrong direction, but another one of those is that, focus on the things that matter most, which are your family and your friends and those relationships. That's like the whole reason for any of this path that we're all on. And those things can go hand in hand. You can balance that experience and need for those connections with the sort of pursuit that that makes it all worthwhile. I mean, purpose is super important for me. It's important to the values I instill in my two boys, and that'll be hard in a world with AI. For my focus is my young boys, for them to make sure that they understand that purpose is what gives it all meaning and leads to a rewarding life. So again, I always think about what this means in a world with AI, but do hard things and value your family and friends and health, and that you can lose that. So cherish it today, and make sure you find purpose and pursue it with everything you have.
Well said.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for that. And in closing, where can the viewers find you, Michael?
Well, Physically, they can find me in New York City, and I'm around, and happy to meet with people at times, and around here I'm traveling as well. But I'm also in the world of LinkedIn. I can be found. I have a website. I don't know if we'll be linking things anywhere, but personal website is www.macohen.net. Has information and research, academic research papers and thought leadership and that sort of stuff can be found there. And you can find my email there. It's just michael@macohen.net. You can reach me at that place. And I hope to get back to you.
Yes, thank you so much. And this has been a really great discussion. So we appreciate you joining us. And real quick, audience members, if you haven't yet, we hope you'll check out BDEX's Omni IQ. You can simply go to bdex.com and click the try for free button, or you can use the QR code if you're watching on video that I'll pull up on the screen.
Okay.
And when you scan that code, it'll take you to Omni IQ to create an account. And once you create an account, upload a CSV file, and you can get gender, birth year, and household income analytics all for free. No credit card required. And so, yeah, you should definitely try it out. There's really nothing to lose. But yeah, I found it really insightful, and I've been teaching a course, and I encourage all of them to go upload a list. Just there's no reason not to. Just learn about your audience. And, we'd really love to hear from you, our audience. So please reach out to us at info@bdex.com and share your qualitative data with us so we can make this better for you. But thank you so much for joining us, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Great show.
Bye.